Hi everyone, welcome to my channel where I discuss everything mythical, historical, and mysterious. In a previous video, I explored the well-known myth of Van Hangs and the mists of Table Mountain. In today's video, I'm heading back to the Cape to explore not just a South African legend, but an international one. A maritime ghost story that has become so famous that it has inspired Hollywood and countless other forms of pop culture. The sea itself is a mysterious and scary place. Traveling the seas is risky business, and countless people have lost their lives. It's no wonder, then, that stories of ghost ships have become popular over the years. None of these more famous than the Flying Dutchman. The story begins in 1641. In April of that year, a Dutch ship headed by Hendrik van der Decken was rounding the Cape of Good Hope. The waters became treacherous as a storm brewed. The ship struggled against the violent winds, but van der Decken was resolute and determined to round Cape Point. His crew, however, pleaded with him to seek safety in the bay. To this he shouted to the winds that he will sail around the Cape, even if it took him till doomsday. According to the legend, the devil appeared before van der Decken on the ship. He granted the captain his wish. The ship never made it back home. Van der Decken and his crew were reported missing. It is said that they had been cursed to sail the seas for eternity. Now you might think that this is some cautionary tale, warning one against being too arrogant against the forces of nature. But what if I told you that this legend has mainly endured because the ship has been sighted multiple times in the past 2 centuries? The earliest known recorded sighting was in 1823. The HM Leven rounded Cape Point on its way to chart the eastern coastline of South Africa. Accompanying it was the HMS Barracuda. The Barracuda needed to make some repairs, so it docked in Algoa Bay for a couple of days, while the Leven continued west to Simonstown. When the brig entered False Bay, the captain was shocked to find that the Barracuda was not far behind them. They had had a 2-day head start. How was it that their companion ship had caught up with them so quickly? They then noticed through their telescopes a boat being lowered from the distant ship. As it rowed towards them, a mist appeared, and then suddenly the ship vanished. The crew of the Leven were dumbfounded. They were later to learn at the same time of the sighting, the Barracuda was still stationed at Algoa Bay. They were convinced, then, that they had seen the Flying Dutchman. The most famous sighting of the Flying Dutchman, however, was in 1880. It's famous because the witnesses happened to be Prince George, the future King of Britain, and his brother, Prince Albert Victor. They were nowhere near South Africa, however. On the 11th of July, 1881, the HMS Inconstant sailed off the coast of Australia between Melbourne and Sydney. One of the princes documented this in his logbook. At 4 a.m. the Flying Dutchman crossed our bows. A strange red light, as of a phantom ship, all aglow. The mast, spars, and sails of a brig 200 yards stood out in strong relief as she came up on the port bow. 13 persons altogether saw her. End quote. During World War II, a German U-boat led by Admiral Karl Dönitz reported seeing the Flying Dutchman off the Cape Peninsula. And only a few years later, in 1941, the ghost ship was spotted again by swimmers at Glencairn Beach. The ship was about to crash into the rocks when it suddenly vanished into thin air. In 1959, a Dutch freighter called the Straat Magellan, with Captain P. Algra at the helm, almost came into direct contact with the famous ship. The Flying Dutchman's sails were fully spread, and Captain Algra clearly noticed a man at the ship's wheel. Because of its sudden appearance, Algra did not have time to react and avoid a collision. But just as the two ships were about to crash into each other, the Flying Dutchman vanished into nothing. These are just a few of the many reported sightings of the Flying Dutchman. To this day, locals in Cape Town still claim to see the phantom vessel. But in a place where myths and legends seem to flourish, is the Flying Dutchman to be taken seriously? Surely the vision of hundreds of witnesses cannot be wrong. Or can they? Most scientists today are quite convinced that there are no such things as ghost ships cursed to roam the seas. A natural phenomena known as Fata Morgana, a superior mirage, is now said to be what is responsible for the sightings of the Flying Dutchman. This mirage occurs when rays of light pass through layers of atmosphere of different temperatures. The light bends and passes through a new layer at a different angle. This is known as refraction. This refraction can make far-off ships in the distance appear closer, floating, flying, or even upside down. Is this what witnesses of the Flying Dutchman have actually been seeing? A mirage of real ships in the distance? But how does one explain the sightings at Glencairn Beach and the Straat Magellan, where the ship was so close as to actually crash into another? I will leave this up to you, dear viewer. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my channel for more content like this. You can also find me on Twitter. My handle will appear on screen now. Until next time, goodbye.